2025 has probably been one of the best years for gaming, if not the best year that we have had in a while. We had long anticipated games like Silksong drop, unexpected games like Megabonk drop, and Microsoft dropped hundreds of employees because they wanted to buy Activision and tank their most lucrative IP that they had. With all that aside, I actually didn't play much of the games that dropped this year. I'm a broke, overstimulated artist, so instead I tried to burn a hole through my ever-growing gaming backlog. Let's rank all the games that I beat in 2025. All of these games I rolled credits on, but I did have to make a slight adjustment to one of the games because I do not condone the use of generative AI under any circumstance. And, oh, I can see that they're playing my music out. Wait, this isn't the Game Awards. I have all the time in the world. Don't forget to cut a promo in my comment section and let me know what were your favorite games that you beat this year. Put me over on all my socials linked in my bio, and like always, don't forget to super kick that like button and hit a Canadian destroyer on that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Just a quick disclaimer, when I was recording Astrobot, I didn't realize that the game audio wasn't working. Thanks OBS, by the way. Astrobot is the only gameplay footage that doesn't have audio. So sorry about that. Let's get back to the video. Astrobot A. This game's reputation precedes itself, starting off as one of the best packing games of all time in Astro Boy. Nintendo, that's how it's done. You do not charge $15 for your packing games. But back to Astrobot. And this game has some of the best rumble and haptic feedback of any game on the PS5, really putting over the haptic feedback. You can really feel every grain of sand, every gust of wind, every brush of the grass. And I get that that was also a thing in Astro Boy, but it's double here in Astrobot. With a beautiful art style to boot and some of the best visuals in any game that I've ever played, really taking the PS5 to its limits. A truly breathtaking game. I really loved collecting the bots. It was so smart to add them in the game and have them populate the overworld with that Sony charm. And I really loved how collecting the bots along with the PS5 parts kind of acts as this progression bar. And I do love how they all just interact with each other. Like you'll see bots running around with each other, like attacking each other. It is great fun. The outfits and controller skins were also a choice. I mean, they were fine, they just felt kind of pointless. But lastly, the gameplay is phenomenal. The platforming was so tight, and I really loved how every world in this game had its own gimmick, and it never overstayed its welcome. The best part about winning Game of the Year is it wasn't enough. They are still updating this game with speed runs, new worlds, new bots. This game is a masterpiece and probably one of the best 3D platformers that I have ever played. And yes, I did write and record this before playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, so at the end of the year, we'll see how that stacks up. Donkey Kong Country Returns B tier. Donkey Kong Country is back with a thrilling adventure. I've actually never played the original, which is probably for the best, as I've heard from a lot of people the controls on the Wii version did not age well. So this is completely new for me. This is definitely Retro Studios at their best, although it may have just been me, the game had a weird difficulty jump after the second world. The platforming though is second to none, being extremely responsive and tight, where you roll, jump, climb, and majority of times die. It's one of those games where if you die, you kind of understand what you did wrong. This game is no joke though. I was stuck on the last world for at least a couple days. Like, I did not expect Donkey Kong Country games to be this hard. Controlling DK really felt amazing, with exception to the obligatory minecart levels. The minecart levels, especially towards the end of the game, feel like some sick joke towards the player. You will literally land on the track but still fall through. I'm not crazy. I'm not. You are. When you're not having a mental breakdown over the cart levels, you can at least appreciate some of the most phenomenal backdrops that the game industry has to show. The environmental artist really went to town on these levels. It's incredible, especially on the updated hardware of the Switch 1. Funny enough, every level just feels distinct and unique, with an amazing score that has bops you will hum long after the credits roll. I know the price kind of scared some people off, but now that the Switch 2 has been revealed and it's coming out soon, I think that is the perfect time to jump into this. Like a Dragon A tier. RGG is back with their genre-bending title, Like a Dragon, turning the beat-em-up franchise into a turn-based game. Honestly, I think RGG really stuck the landing here, especially with the combat. It has that RGG sparkle. I'm talking a homeless man throwing chunks of bread and calling birds as a skill move. It's honestly a great evolution of the RGG style of game because the ridiculous nature of the side quests has now creeped its way into the combat and every single facet of the game. It's not all smooth sailing though. The combat takes legitimate thought and effort to master. This game has one of the longest tutorials in any Like a Dragon game, with attacks, skills, and dodging. Another annoying bit is there is an insane jump in difficulty towards the middle point of the game, and you need to grind a lot. I'm not a huge fan of this because the RGG games have a rich story, and sometimes I just want to binge that story, and I felt like I couldn't do that here. But speaking about story, the world also ties into other Yakuza games in an interesting and fulfilling way for both new and experienced fans of the series. The art direction is stunning with stylish blue flames around all your power moves, and the skill moves, oh my god, the animators really cooked. They are so unique and thoughtful, and they go so fucking hard. Every enemy in this game looks unique. When you first start the battle, they look like street thugs, and then they turn into these like warriors with like makeshift armor with like cans and broomsticks. It's great. It's all a figment of Ichiban Kasuga's imagination, and nobody else can see it, and I love it. I would highly recommend this game to anyone, new and experienced fans of the series. Yakuza Like a Dragon, Gaiden, D tier. Unlike the last game, Gaiden is absolutely god-awful. I don't understand how this happened. So Gaiden takes place in between Yakuza 6 and Like a Dragon, which goes back to the original Yakuza combat, but it just doesn't feel the same. That beat 'em up style doesn't feel the same. I feel like an old husk of Kiryu. Maybe that was the point, but it just doesn't come across well. Yakuza 6 has some of the best combat. It felt weighty, impactful, fluid. In Gaiden, like I said, your attacks feel floaty and they don't feel as powerful. I kept floating by my enemies. Not to mention, some of the enemies took forever to beat. I don't know if you would call that bullet spongy, punch spongy, kick spongy, heat spongy. I don't know. I did not feel like the dragon. They also added these gadgets to the game like rocket shoes, grenades, a magical tether. I never just felt like the need to use them at all, unless I was trying to do an achievement or challenge. One of the biggest hooks of this game is the combat arena that takes place on this barge. Honestly, it just felt like a way of shoehorning in cheap references to other games and some undeserved fan service. Like they have the legends of the Yakuza games that will just appear on this barge and you have to fight them, and they're essentially goons masqueraded as these characters. And they also sell these characters as microtransactions in the PlayStation Store or Xbox Store. And it just felt like a way of just siphoning as much money from the players as they possibly can, because Sega is just Segaing again. They even messed up the best part of this game that is a staple in Yakuza games, the sub-story. Now you get updates on this app and you essentially just go and beat up goons. Like, yeah, you did that in the other Yakuza games, but you had to travel to the location. There was a meaningful cutscene, and they just had heart and just an endearment to them, and that's gone in this game. I mean, you do get rewards, but it just doesn't feel the same. The worst part though is the story. It tries to do this like secret agent, like espionage story, but it all falls flat because there are no stakes. We know Kiryu survives. And what makes it even worse is everyone backstabs everyone to the point of a meme. At one point, your friends ask you to backstab your other friends, but it's a ruse because the first group of friends just wanted to test your loyalty and see if you actually would backstab them. It is so stupid. Save yourself. Do not play this game. There are so many great RGG games you can play right now. Don't play this. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I don't think there is a more perfect Wii U port or Switch game. On one hand, you get a perfect 3D platformer that converts the retro 2D formula into a 3D formula. On the other hand, you have one of the most unique Mario experiences that we have ever seen. I'm getting way ahead of myself. 3D World is probably the best platformer Nintendo has ever published, with every level presenting a new puzzle with environments to explore, with new and returning abilities like the Katsu. The real joy is playing this game with multiple friends. It is absolute chaos. The person with the highest score gets this crown that they get to take into the next level, and it turns into a fun, platforming, intense score race. But I mean, if you lose, you can always steal the crown by throwing your friend off the cliff. The lights and visuals in this game have always been stunning, even for a Wii U game, and that's saying a lot. With a great soundtrack to boot, it's an instant classic. The second part of this game is Bowser's Fury, which is, like I said, one of the most unique experiences Nintendo has ever given us. Mario gets dragged into the situation with his dad, Bowser. He's freaking out, and the only way to stop him is to collect the correct amount of shine sprites and ring this bell so you can grow big as Catsuit Mario and fight him. This game is open world, so you can collect the shine sprites in any order you want, and there's also multiple ways to get these shine sprites. The coolest thing is the presentation. Bowser looks like a monster from a kaiju movie. He looks possessed, he looks evil, and I love it. He also gets this like industrial rock theme, and it goes so hard. Like, the music in this game is so insanely peak. He will also just randomly attack you when you're running around in the overworld trying to get shine sprites. Even if you don't have the correct amount, he will just attack you. And it is cool at first, and it does add a sense of urgency to the game, along with the narrative of Bowser's just going insane. But I will say, it does get annoying, especially because the attacks get more frequent as the game progresses. And sometimes, like, I'm in the middle of a platforming section, I'm trying to do this puzzle, and I just constantly keep getting attacked by Bowser. I wish there was a way to like turn it down, or maybe they could have just toned it down a little bit, because it did get really annoying. But all in all, this is a great package, and I would recommend this game to absolutely any and everyone. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, C tier. The DLC that was so good, it ruined the franchise and all of the DLCs in this franchise. This game is really good still, but it's kind of dated. I really enjoy the 80s movie aesthetic of the story and presentation with cheesy dialogue and that Sunday morning cartoon animation style. I think they really nailed it, and the pacing is so good in the story. Just as I was starting to get tired of this game, I realized I was on the last mission. The score is top tier, like one of the best scores in game. It mixes big action set piece music with synth wave, almost like poppy music. The gameplay is fine, probably the most dated part of the game. It does the Far Cry 3 thing where you have bases and you gotta sneak into these bases, or you can just run and gun. I really liked how if you hacked one alarm, you hacked them all. It was such a good feature. Always in Far Cry games, there is that one alarm that I always miss or forget to hit with my crossbow. And I don't know if this was in any other Far Cry game, but it just may have been, and maybe I just never knew about it. I also really loved how you can lure dragons and make them do your bidding for you. If you like throw an enemy's heart, like, yeah, you just steal people's hearts in this game, don't question it. But if you throw a heart, it will like lure in nearby dragons, and it is so fun to watch them just clear house and then just fuck off into the night. The gunplay is serviceable. It's a 2010s FPS. It's fine. If there's too many enemies on screen, it does get really annoying because you're getting hit from all angles and you don't have a lot of health, so you gotta run and hide and just hold down that heal button. There are certain gameplay systems that they tweaked from the original Far Cry 3 to make it fit in more with this DLC. Like, you don't unlock perks via perk tree, you unlock them as you play the game, which it's all fine. Then you have the attachments. These are unlocked via side quests. There are 3 in the game: hunting, hostage, and rampage. It all works fine. You just get these from the outposts that you reclaim, and they're fun. They're a fun little distraction. I wouldn't do them all, but they're all right. All in all, this game is a really good game, and I would highly recommend it if you've never played the original. It is a really good remaster as well. The controls all work fine. I never had any issues, so 100% would recommend. AC Shadows, C tier. I feel like the more I think about this game, the more I actually dislike it. I mean, it's fine. It's a classic revenge story where your family is killed and you need to try to seek revenge. I just hate how every game of this nature does the same approach. You can do these missions in any order you want. And because of that, missions can't feel specific or hold any weight, because you can do those missions either first, last, or somewhere in the middle. If you have a character that has a specific moment, then that wouldn't work at the start or end of the game. But the story is surprisingly good until it explains Yasuke's story. The quality kind of takes a nosedive. And that's no hate on Yasuke, honestly. I do really like his character. It's just they wait till the end of the game to give him any story or character motivation. It's really sad because I wanted to get to know Yasuke. It just felt rushed. At that point, I'm just completely checked out of the story. But playing a Ubisoft game for its story is like watching porn for its story. How does the game hold up? Honestly, pretty good. You play as Naoe, a shinobi assassin, and Yasuke, a samurai, which you can switch on the fly, and this took me by surprise. The two characters play vastly different. It almost feels like two separate games. With Naoe, you want to stealth as much as possible and use your items to get an advantage, and if you need to fight, using your dodge is critical. As Yasuke, you run through doors, brute force your way through combat encounters, and it really just makes you feel like a badass. I think this is the best solution to divide up the AC games, being the older fans and the newer fans want something completely different from AC. My biggest problem with the game is its perks. The perks largely feel inconsequential. I never really noticed an impact unless it was the few active perks, and those get dry after a few uses. I will say the best part of this game is its visuals. AC Shadow uses seasons with lush sakura seasons mixed in with snowy storms. It's beautiful, definitely the best part of the game, and the weather system really adds a diversity that you don't really see often in a lot of these games. Every frame of this vast open world is screenshot worthy. It's almost worth the price of admission, if I'm going to be honest. AC Shadows is probably the best AC game in recent memory, but that's not really saying a lot now, is it? Hi everyone, Future Jason here. This is where Expedition 33 was supposed to go, but unfortunately it came out recently that they may or may not have used Gen AI in the development process. There's a lot of conflicting reports. Whether it's before development, in pre-production, or in current development, I am very much against the use of generative AI. I mean, pick a reason. There's 1,000,001 reasons to discourage and hate the use of Gen AI. Due to the use of Gen AI or the possible use of Gen AI in E33, I am disqualifying it from my list. Don't get me wrong, I'm not self-important. I know that the team is not shitting themselves because massive YouTuber Untitled Elite disqualified it from the Game of the Year list. I just personally feel gross for having it in my Game of the Year list. I did initially give Expedition 33 the Game of the Year award, but the next game that would fall under Game of the Year on my list would be Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is ironic because Nintendo hates Gen AI so much, they said that they would rather switch business models than use Gen AI. So yes, Donkey Kong Bonanza, ironically, is my Game of the Year. So congratulations to Donkey Kong Bonanza. And also, before I forget, fuck Gen AI and fuck anyone who uses it. RoboCop Rogue City D. I never talk about this, but in my formative years in high school, I saw RoboCop 2, and it was one of those movies that just became my personality. Now, I understand it's B-movie schlock, but back then, I thought it was the greatest movie of all time. Like, incomparable, peak. I was so interested to hear that they were actually making a RoboCop game. I feel like we never really get anything RoboCop anymore. And it was also being developed by the same people that made that Terminator game. I was completely in. But it's more like the movies than I ever could have hoped, and not in the good Alien Isolation way. The story is completely forgettable with the most nothing villain and quickly thrown together side quests and cobbled together moral choices. It doesn't help that most of the story is explained in the Fallout 3 Oblivion way of characters just exposition dumping everything until you can ask your vague little question. The voice actors also don't sound completely interested in the project, which I don't really blame them. I would also sound bored and disinterested if I was given this script. It almost sounds like the first pass of a recording. The game also has like the same tired structure where you talk to the doctor, get your mission XP, get your mission told to you, then have the chance to walk around the station, pick up side quests if you hate yourself. Then you can go to your mission and repeat. Like I've touched on before, you can walk around the station and collect side side quests. At first, this is pretty endearing as you help the public solve public disputes like parking tickets, but the way the NPCs talk to the player just puts me to sleep, which is sad because the story has some really interesting bits, but it's ultimately bogged down by a boring villain and horrible presentation. It does the tired old, is the hero really good, without ever expanding on that topic or asking an interesting or unique question. I think it's finally time to put the old, is this hero really good narrative trend to bed. It's been done to death. I guess it's finally time to talk about gameplay. It's a 2010s generic FPS. Like, yes, playing as RoboCop and hearing yourself stomp around is so fun, especially when there's garbage in the overworld. It goes flying and it makes a nice sound. But after a couple hours, this charm definitely wears off, especially because you die so quick. Nothing says indestructible RoboCop like hiding behind cover while regular humans just shoot at you. You have a standard issue RoboCop pistol. If you ever get bored of that, you can also pick up your enemy's weapons. This is like shotguns, pistols, etc. Honestly, these were kind of boring. I never really felt the need to run to them. Like, I would grab them because they're better fire rates, but they were so boring. Along with this, you also have a super move which auto targets enemies with your pistols like he does in the movies. When all else fails, you can also grab enemies by the throat and just ragdoll them. And let me just say, ragdolling humans is never not fun. In Minecraft, oh my god, in Minecraft. It all works fine, but after a while, it does get kind of boring. They don't add anything to spice up the gameplay, which ultimately leaves RoboCop just feeling stale. There are perks and abilities, but they're kind of slowly drip fed to you, and they feel vastly underwhelming. I think for a lot of them, you have to grind the side quests to really be able to afford them. The best part of the game is the nostalgia-infused boss fights that you encounter throughout the story. I really wish that this level of passion and nostalgia was felt throughout the whole project, but unfortunately not. RoboCop really lacks a level of charm and care that I really wanted from this game, but it just never had. I can't recommend this game like at all, even though they have that like standalone DLC that's coming out. Fuck, I'm gonna have to play that, aren't I? Lollipop Chainsaw Repopped, C tier. I was skeptical about jumping into this cult classic after hearing the numerous bugs people were finding, and honestly, maybe just because I played it after all the patches, or this is just the nostalgia talk. I didn't notice anything. Playing this game was a real blast. It reminded me why I fell in love with video games in the first place. It's just straight zombie slaying fun. I don't remember this in the original, but you can buy a bunch of cosmetics with your in-game currency, and this is a nice touch. I had so much fun experimenting with the different outfits, like dressing up as the dad, the sister, the mom. It was great fun, and I honestly missed it in older games where you can unlock these cosmetics without going into your wallet and paying. Although the game is pretty much the same for all intents and purposes, this could be considered a port. The gameplay is still sluggish and tank-like, but you don't really play Lollipop Chainsaw for its game-changing gameplay. Going from level to level is a real joy. They really kept turning that dial on that intensity meter. It was so much fun to just see what cool boss fights they were gonna come up with, or what insane scenarios they were gonna conjure. I would really love to take a deep dive into Suda51's mind. The art style is still just kinda ugly. I mean, the comic book cutscenes are actually really fun, but I wish they would have made the game look a little nicer, especially being on the PS5. I really feel like they wasted some resources on the repopped mode because it really just removes blood, and that time really could have been used to improve the gameplay, how it feels, or just improve the visuals and make it look a little nice. The dialogue is still really fun, quirky, and tongue-in-cheek, and it honestly made me laugh even though I know this game in and out. The soundtrack still slaps with those intense boss fights and those nice guitar riffs. It was a real treat, although I did hear that they had to take a couple songs out of the game, I'm guessing due to copyright issues, but I'm not too sure. I couldn't recommend this title more. It is just straight zombie slaying fun. Bayonetta Origins and the Lost Demon, A tier. Lastly, but certainly not least, Bayonetta and the Lost Demon. I feel like this game is largely slept on. I mean, I don't blame everyone after the disaster that was Bayo 3, but Bayonetta Origins is a real return to form for the series with a lot of quality and passion put into it. In this origin story, we follow Cereza as she goes from helpless girl just trying to save her mom to the witch and demon slayer we come to know her as. It doesn't completely stick the landing, but it does make a really good effort. Throughout this puzzle platformer, you play as Cereza and her demon, Shesha. Don't worry, I will not be pronouncing that throughout this whole section. I'm just going to call him Demon. The controller is essentially split in half, with the left side of the controller controlling Cereza and the right side of the controller controlling Shesha. And this probably works best for the Switch Joy-Cons, especially if you're playing in docked mode, but I played it on a Pro controller. It does take some getting used to, I won't lie, because the right stick controls the demon, which is vital in combat encounters, and the left stick will control Cereza. She's more of a support, using her witch skills to stun enemies and use potions to help the demon, while the demon is more of a tank, using strong and weak attacks, and the enemies give a nice variety that I wasn't expecting from a puzzle platformer. Like, some of the enemies are elemental specific, with the demon having elemental specific attacks. This is a really nice variation in the combat. The platforming is also really good. There's a lot of this world to explore, and the puzzles were challenging enough to keep me engaged, but nothing ever felt too easy or too hard. With the fixed camera though, I did not love it. Although it gave some really nice visuals, it really felt like it got in the way a lot, especially in the action scenes, and it can be really annoying. But let's talk about the graphics for a second here. This game is fucking stunning. I can only imagine what this is gonna look all patched up on the Switch 2, with a stunning storybook art style that doesn't pull any punches. The cutscenes look like a storybook, like I want to read this book. The only annoying part about these sections is you have to manually flip the page, and the amount of times that I thought that this game froze is mind-boggling. Thankfully, you can toggle this off in the settings, because automatically page turn is turned on by default, which I just don't understand. My favorite section of this game is probably the challenge arenas, because the combat is just so fun, and aesthetically these sections look so cool. It kind of looks like the glass breaking scenes from the Doctor Strange movies. These sections look so surreal, and they're just stunning to look at. The game has a phenomenal soundtrack that just brings this work of art together, with a lovely orchestrated score that mixes in lovely piano strings until it swells up to a more intense boss music. It's one of my favorite soundtracks on the Switch, and it's definitely just locked in on my Spotify. All of this is brought together by an amazing voice acting cast, with the demon sounding like a disgruntled old man that just wants to get home, while Cereza sounds like a timid girl just trying to find her place in the world. I was thrown back by the absolute talent that was showcased in the voice acting, as Bayonetta isn't really known for its compelling story or amazing voice acting. The story in Bayonetta Origins is intense and full of trauma. I haven't talked about this a lot, but the story in this game is actually phenomenal. It has a lot of twists that will shock you, but just so you know, it is definitely a tearjerker. Just like the rest of the game, it is incredible, and I cannot recommend this game more. It is one of the best games on the Switch, and I would highly recommend it, especially because you could normally get it pretty cheap. Little Kitty Big City, B tier. Sometimes a game needs no introduction, the title just speaks for itself. Little Kitty Big City is an adventure platformer where you play as a kitty who fell out of a building and is now lost in the city. You climb, jump, collect hats, and solve puzzles to make your way back. I really wish this game spent more time on its platforming. The platforming felt really clunky. Sometimes I would miss a jump that I should have made. Other times, I would make a jump that I shouldn't have made. There's also this issue with this game misreading my movements, like hopping down a ledge when I really wanted to jump across the ledge. I really enjoyed how open this game was. It's kind of like Untitled Goose Game. You do have objectives, but you can really do them in any order you see fit. The game has progression that is gated off by stamina, which you naturally get by eating fish of all things. That's your only motivation: eating fish, collecting hats, and solving puzzles. The puzzles are actually pretty interesting. They aren't the hardest thing in the world, but they are enjoyable. The game really nails the enjoyment of chaos. Chaos is felt throughout the whole game. The sound design is also felt throughout the whole game, from the pitter patters of your paws to the glass breaking when it's knocked over. The sound design is top notch. The game is accompanied with a free-flowing jazz OST that seems to go along with the gameplay. The art direction is immaculate, with an almost vibrant watercolor aesthetic. The animations is where this game shines. The cat movements are so realistic and unique at the same time. I don't think I've seen a game that animates cats this well, from climbing onto ledges to the delayed reaction when sliding down a wall. At the end of the day, Little Kitty Big City knows what it wants to do, and it does it very well. I really hope we see big cat adventures from this little studio. Beyond Good and Evil, A tier. There's certain games that are so iconic, their reputation outlives itself. That is Beyond Good and Evil. Honestly, I didn't play it until this year, but I do remember hearing about the sequel at some weird Ubisoft presentation, maybe like 5 to 10 years ago. I don't know. Funny enough, we still don't have that game. We've still never heard anything about it since. Beyond Good and Evil is part stealth action adventure game and part 3D platformer. The stealth sections work well enough. It definitely has that 6th generation unpredictable stealth cones. It doesn't get in the way as much as you would think. You do get used to the stealth, and thankfully you do have some combat options. You have a basic attack and dodge option. You also get a companion with support capabilities. Each companion has a unique ability on cooldown. A really cool feature is you can add or subtract health from yourself to give or take from your companions. The best part of the game is the environments, whether you're traveling through abandoned mines, fighting insects, or through military factories where you have to stealth around guards and turrets. The game isn't all great though. An annoying aspect of the game is how much you have to grind for credits in between missions. If I have to hear that goddamn air hockey theme song one more goddamn time, I'm gonna lose it. The game really does look great even by today's standard. It has a really unique art style. The story also really holds up. Aliens keep invading and stealing people. You have to figure out why they're doing this and what the military deep state has to do with it. It's interesting. I just think they could have said a lot more. It felt really one note, although it does have some really good emotional beats mixed in with some great voice acting that really makes you care for these companions. I definitely would recommend the remaster, especially if you've never played the original. Tinykin B tier. Tinykin is the reason why I say indie games are on a whole nother level when it comes to quality. In Tinykin, you solve puzzles and 3D platformers with these creatures called Tinykins. There's a few different variants of these Tinykins: normal, electric, exploding, etc. In Tinykin, you have to explore this world and find parts so you can explore the outside of the house that you're trapped in. The environments are probably the most unique part, from a booming party city in the bathroom to an uprising ant rebellion that is trying to overthrow its oppressive government, which, oh my god, this game cooks so hard with that last one. I was not expecting that. They all have something unique going on, and they were so fun to explore. It's really just combatless Pikmin at the end of the day. The puzzles in these worlds are also really clever and interesting to solve. It always kept me on my toes. Towards the end of the game, you have to use all of your Tinykins in combination to solve these puzzles, and they were really interesting and fun. There's also a lot of side quests that you can do, and this kept things interesting along with giving us some backstory towards this world. My favorite part about these side quests is you have to collect things like pieces of paper, scrap, pictures, etc. And your Tinykins will hold these in the level until the puzzle is solved. It's a really nice touch and a visual reminder of what you're supposed to be doing. The story is just kind of there to guide you from level to level. You're a scientist who wants to travel and see what the universe has to offer, blah, 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 blah. It's passable, it just gets you from level to level. An aspect I really enjoyed is how the characters are animated. It almost reminds me of Paper Mario of all things. Like, your character has that like 2D, 3D effect to it. Kind of see him changing perspectives. It's really interesting. Honestly, I could not recommend this game more. It is fun, it is interesting, it is a short game, and it's always on sale. You can get it for about £2 on a regular Thursday. So please, go and get this game, support indie devs. It's an amazing game. Metal Gear Solid 2 C tier. Before you start typing, I can hear you typing. I honestly struggled to place this game on this list. I want to say that I did not enjoy my time playing this game, but the story was so incredible to experience, it really kept me going, and I would say it's even worth the trouble. The first hour or so you play as Snake, and the rest of the game you play as the game industry's worst kept secret, Raiden. As Snake, you are trying to expose the use of Metal Gear by sneaking through this base during a political speech. It's probably one of the more unique settings in a Metal Gear game. As Raiden, you play as a dense soldier that is blindly following orders while he sneaks around an oil rig. It's a stealth game like the other Metal Gear games, so you'll do a lot of sneaking around, but it has this like weird corner camera that was really popular in early PS2 games. It's the reason I haven't played it for so long, because I knew I would just hate it. The rest of the game after the opening bit takes place on this rig, like I said earlier. The map is probably the worst part of the game. Most of the environments not only look the same, but the map layout gets really confusing, and you only get slight dialogue hints on where you need to go next, and you need to just open the map and figure it out. I had to use a guide for most of the game, which is also really hard because certain parts and objectives of this game change depending on your difficulty that you select. It's really weird. The stealth in this game works fine enough. I had the same feeling that I had with the stealth in Beyond Good and Evil. I had a lot of feelings of why did I get caught? How did that person see me? Especially with the weird camera, it's hard to orient yourself. You do get guns. Unfortunately, the guns are not very useful thanks to the camera. You can also use CQC, but you have to get really close to the enemy to actually use it, and that's not always an option. Like I said, the story is probably the best part of this game. It's full of twists, turns, and I dare not spoil anything in the story. It is filled with critiques of censorship, exploitation, authoritarianism, capitalism, which, if you look at the news, this is very relevant today, and if this game was made today, y'all would call it woke. But I don't think anyone's ready for that conversation yet. The ending will definitely leave you pondering your life for a very, very long time after the credits roll. And dare I say, this is the best ending Kojima has ever written. The hardest part of this game is it is the best game on the PS2, while simultaneously being one of the most frustrating Kojima games. It is so hard to rank this game, but I'm just gonna leave it at C and just hate myself for doing that. I don't love this game in 2025, especially with the gameplay elements, but I do understand how important it is. Plucky Squire, D tier. This game is so fucking disappointing. I was so excited for this to come out physically, and then I played it. Plucky Squire has two game modes inside a storybook, which kind of plays like an old school top-down Zelda game. You have a sword slash and a dodge roll. Then you have the outside the storybook. After certain story beats, you are able to magically transport yourself outside of the book, and it turns the game into more of a 3D platformer. Let's talk about the storybook sections first. Not to bury the lead here, I actually do love this part of the game. The combat is serviceable, it's good, it's not winning any awards, you slash and dodge enemies. Where the game really shines though is in its puzzle elements. You have the regular put block on switch, then you also have more intricate puzzles like replace word on the storybook to change the environment. These puzzles are so smart, and it was such a unique way to present the puzzles. Another way you solve puzzles is by manipulating the book by flipping the pages or tilting the book to solve these puzzles. This is where the game really shines. Towards the end of the levels, you also have these gimmick battles like a Punch-Out style fight, an FPS style arrow game, or a drumming rhythm kind of game. These really shake up the gameplay, and I actually found them really fun and unintrusive. The art direction in this game is really bright with colorful, semi-muted colors that you would see in a picture book. With these stylized cutscenes followed by page-turning animation, these also play when transitioning from level to level or from gameplay to cutscene. The real world sections of the Plucky Squire is kind of the opposite of this. It turns the game into a 3D platformer with stealth sections at the beginning of the game, but towards the end of the game you get more combat. These sections normally result in grab this thing and bring it back to the storybook section. It's very formulaic and honestly lacks the innovation that the rest of the game has. Not to mention, the game loses its unique art style for a more, I don't know how to explain it any better, a Unreal Engine 4 style. That's how I can describe it best. It has that Unreal 4 sheen to it, if that makes sense. I found the game really disappointing. I mainly rushed through these sections to get back to the storybook. The story in Plucky Squire is alright. It gets you from point A to point B. Plucky Squire is the hero that always wins. He is powerful and he writes his own storybooks based on his real life. This all changes when the witch takes control of his book and plans to affect the outside world by changing the narrative of these books. There is a narrator that kind of describes everything that's going on in the book, and he has that perfect sultry narrator voice that we all hear when we read a storybook. My problem with the story actually has nothing to do with the story, it's more the supporting characters Thrash and Violet. At first, they are fun, but towards the end of the game, their dialogue really drags the game down to, oh my god, just let me play the fucking game levels. Fortunately, you can actually reduce the dialogue in the option menu. This was a red flag when I first started the game, as I had a pop-up that said, hey, do you want to reduce the dialogue in this game? Never a good sign. Please just hire an editor. All in all, I would recommend this game, but on a deep sale. Donkey Kong Bonanza, A tier. The only reason this game isn't Game of the Year is because Clair Obscur exists. The Mario Odyssey team really cooked again. This is a masterclass in 3D platforming, being able to destroy environments with punches. You have an up punch, a down punch, and a regular punch. Most puzzles are solved through manipulating the environments and with basic platforming. Surprisingly enough, this never gets old. I can play this game for a very long time. Even more shocking is the environments. This game really pushes the Switch 2 to its absolute limits, even making this very green console crawl at its most extreme moment. The debris floods the overworld, not to mention the changes that you make to the environment are remembered until you reset them in the map menu. I really love how every world feels unique. I thought it would all feel the same taking place underground, but they really did their best to make sure every biome had its own spin to it. Although some worlds definitely feel useless as you spend a total of 5 minutes in them, I think they really could have cut down these worlds, especially towards the end of the game. These small worlds really drag the game down. When you're smashing through these worlds, you will notice that you have 4 super moves with different abilities and attributes. I love how ridiculous these Bonanza states were. Seeing Zebra Bonanza never gets old. I'm sure I'm going to be telling this to a therapist one day though. The strongest and weakest point of the game is the story. I love the story with Pauline. It is soul crushing. You really gain a bond with her, and towards the end of the game, it really gets emotional, which I never thought I would say that for a DK game. I also really loved how it tied back into Mario Odyssey. That was so cool. The villains I never really cared for. They all looked really cool, but just like in Mario Odyssey, there was too many villains and not enough time with them to really care about them. All in all, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a must own for any Switch 2 owner, and if you don't own a Switch 2, I would suggest getting one just for this game. Cyberpunk 2077, C tier. I might get some heat for this, but I don't think Cyberpunk is all that great. I think it suffers from a poor launch. It goes back to that saying, if you release a bad game, it ensures that it will never be a great game. While I'm playing through this game, I feel like I can see the cracks, where things have been super glued and duct taped together. You can see where the old content stops and the new content starts. As someone that has played both, it is jarring. It's genuinely a good game now, but I feel like I really shouldn't be saying now. It should have launched in this current state, especially because CDPR is one of the biggest studios in the game industry. With all that aside, I find the story really annoying. Like, it does have some good elements. I love the Anti-Corpor storyline, and I love how Johnny's character develops, but I never really feel attached to him as a person. He's just genuinely not a good person, nor do I think he's supposed to be written like one, but he's mainly written like a 15-year-old who writes edgy shadow fanfiction. It's hard to take him seriously. I want to count how many times he says the word fuck in the game. New drinking game? Actually, don't. I don't want to lower my viewer count even more. Although he does have some growth, which makes you empathize with Johnny, the ending does offer some nice character closure, and honestly, I'm not too sure if it was in the original or if it was added post-launch. To be honest, I never really beat the original, although they did add some additional endings in the DLC Phantom Liberty. We'll get to that DLC in a little bit. The dialogue choices really confuse me. Most of them don't feel like choices at all. It feels like CDPR is trying to guide the player into making the decision they want you to make. Now I want to talk about the gameplay. Honestly, it's probably the best part of the game. Everything works so well. There is something about getting gigs, using augments, and collecting eddies that just hits different. The shooting is really tight and responsive, with every weapon feeling unique and packing a punch. Augments are tailored to playstyles, my favorite being the grenade launcher arm. I never really felt tied to one playstyle or the other. A major change in gameplay is only one augment and a couple thousand eddies away, which feeds into the in-game lore. Augments have a certain amount of requirements along with armor, which is a much better system than having armor tied to clothes and cosmetics. There's a much improved skill tree that's also really easy to digest. Everyone talks about how beautiful Cyberpunk looks, but honestly it's my least favorite part of the game. The game has a really weird color palette. It looks great in the dead of the night with the neon lights, but if you look too closely at it, it looks muddy, along with the faces having that lead paint stare. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the soundtrack is probably one of the best soundtracks in gaming. From the cyberpunk-like electronic music to the rock tunes that come along with the flashback scenes, the game has one of the best soundtracks. I don't think it's as good as people say, but it's definitely a worthwhile RPG that you should definitely play, especially if you have a Switch 2. It runs amazing on there. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, B tier. Phantom Liberty is everything Cyberpunk should have been, adding in a lot of side jobs, some extending outside of Liberty City, new weapons, a whole new storyline. I will say, the story is probably the weakest part of this DLC. It turns into the Idris Elba show, and it is really distracting. It's why I hate these big budget actors taking voice acting roles in the game industry. I felt like Idris Elba was really just playing himself. The story does have a lot of twists and turns, most of them are predictable. I didn't find the story enjoyable whatsoever. I do like what they did with the story of Cyberpunk going forward. At the end of the DLC, it gives a real definitive ending to Cyberpunk 2077, and it's like nearly 30 minutes long. It is cinema. It's great. It really wraps up the Cyberpunk 2077 story, and I'm really glad they added it. The moment-to-moment gameplay obviously isn't too different from the original Cyberpunk, but the environments are more cramped, and honestly, I really just enjoyed Liberty City more than Night City. I'm not sure why, it just has more of a personality. The side jobs I found more interesting than the original game, or even more than the story in Phantom Liberty, if I'm gonna be honest. I would 100% recommend this DLC. Even if you didn't enjoy Cyberpunk, or if it just didn't scratch that right itch, I do think Phantom Liberty really elevates this game. Little Gator Game, B tier. Little Gator Game is the true definition of what it feels like to be a kid. In Little Gator Game, you wander the island with such joy and wonder trying to recruit your sister, who is working hard on her paper, to join your game. It sounds simple, but I feel like it has a lot of nuance in the moment-to-moment character interactions. From theater kids that are just stuck in certain characters, unable to compromise, to a bull that is scared to swim because he's terrified he's gonna turn into a ball of fluff. These interactions really humanize the character better than any quadruple A masterpiece can. You eventually cattle these fun characters into your village to create the ultimate RP server to make your sister jealous enough to join you. Some of these cutscenes and interactions with your sister are downright sad, especially because you can stumble upon these memories in the overworld. While you're side questing, you can recruit new friends and gain new items like swords, shields, hats, active abilities, etc. These active abilities come in the form of ragdolling, slingshots, throwing rocks, etc. Exploring the overworld is really fun. You have to destroy a lot of property to gain paper so you can craft new items, build out your town, and just for missions in general. Climbing is a big part of the exploration. It borrows a lot from the Breath of the Wild system. You can find hikers to reach, and they will give you these wristbands that give you more stamina. There isn't a lot of variation in the gameplay, but what it does great. It has a really unique art style and sound design. I would recommend this game for really chill play sessions, although the game will run you a good 4 hours or less. It's a short but sweet one. Doom Dark Ages, F tier. F tier might sound a little harsh, but if you've seen Doom's track record, it's actually reasonable. Doom Eternal is probably one of the best FPS games ever, if not the best. They took that and scrapped most of what made it great. Doom Dark Ages takes place during a medieval setting before any Doom game, which sets up a lot of Doom 2016. Genuinely, I think the story here is pretty good, a little self-indulgent, but still good. My biggest issue with the game is Doom Doomguy. Doomguy feels slow and sluggish. This might have been fine, but they took away the meat hook and replaced it with a shield. The shield does offer some maneuverability, but ultimately you hit a roadblock after one use. The shield's main function is parrying attacks. You will do this more than shooting at some points. In a FPS, mind you. Enemies shoot these green bullets and you have to time your deflections. You can also block normal bullets on a cooldown. This doesn't sound so bad, but in practice, it turns Doom into a bullet hell Dark Souls wannabe. I don't think it works, especially because on harder difficulties, it's so overwhelming, and on some bosses, you will melee and parry more than shooting in a FPS, mind you. I feel like I have to keep reminding you guys of that, which they made melee attacks also on a cooldown. That is really fun in boss fights, by the way. They added new melee weapons, which I love, but they took away gore kills, so everything just feels the same. To add to this feeling of mediocrity, guns don't have attachments anymore, so there's no strategic advantages. They did add variations to your guns, but these do little differences like add a little bit of fire rate. This made me experiment less and less with my guns. I just had a strict 2 to 3 gun loop. The moment-to-moment gameplay felt good until I saw those first couple green bullets. In addition to the gameplay loop that actually doesn't suck is the open world sections. These open world sections now have 3 main objectives with multiple side quests. In these sections, there is a lot of scale and variety. If they put this in a better Doom game, I think it would be very fun. The downside to these open sections is they take place on fields, so it's kind of hard to dodge bullets and to deflect bullets when they're coming from you at all angles. There's 2 other mission types. These are Dragon and Mechs. These are fun for the first time, but really drag after that. The mech missions are just dodging and parrying stretched out to a whole mission, while the dragon missions are more your run-of-the-mill vehicle missions. These sections are nothing to write home about, just like the soundtrack. The music in this game took the soul and the it factor from Mick Gordon's soundtrack. I don't know, it wasn't horrible, it just felt like they wanted a Mick Gordon clone. The sound design actually is pretty good though. The guns sound amazing and had that Doom punch. Even the parrying sound great, which makes me want to love this game. I just can't. The new setting leaves a lot of room for cool set pieces, and the level designers really cooked here. Although I can't recommend this game based on its horrible gameplay systems, I would recommend this on a deep sale if you love Doom. Metal Gear Solid Delta, A tier. I feel like this is really cheating. Metal Gear Solid Delta is a true remaster of one of the greatest games of all time. Surprisingly, Konami smashed it. I was really worried, I'm not gonna lie. I will say I did play it on PS5. I heard the PC port had a lot of issues. The graphics in this game are incredible. The detail from the facial animations to the environments are all unbelievable. I feel like this is what the PS5 generation was supposed to look like. The combat apparently got touch-ups, but the game feels like how I remembered the original playing, although I haven't touched the original in some time. The shooting mechanics are definitely tuned up. As well, when you get shot at, you will need to interact with the healing mechanics, like taking out bullets, healing burn wounds, etc. I don't remember this being such a big feature in the original game, and if I'm being honest, it was cool the first time, but after that it becomes tedious. I tried stealthing as much as possible, and I really had the "how did you see me" moment, except in the last chapter, but I'm horrible at this game. The characters still have incredible dialogue. I loved hopping on the intercom and chatting with my team. Paramedic is still one of my favorites by far. The characters, like in any Metal Gear game, are well written, memorable, and extremely well acted, leaving a lasting memory. It is one of my favorite games of all time, and I cannot recommend this game anymore. Ghost of Yotei, A tier. Ghost of Yotei is nearly a perfect game, with improved combat, stealth, gameplay loop, and visuals, but it really drops the ball when it comes to the story. In Ghost of Yotei, you play as Atsu, who is trying to avenge her family that got murdered by the Yotei 6. You have to hunt down all 6 members. The story is split up between these 6 members. This leaves the story feeling somewhat disconnected, as I kept waiting for the game to expand on these themes, and they never did. Atsu ostensibly is the same character at the beginning and at the end. The last half of the game, she learns that murder is bad and then proceeds to kill one more person. I really think they dropped the ball in this aspect, especially towards the end of the game. Weirdly enough, I like the characters in this game more than I did in Ghost of Tsushima. I felt Atsu had more personality, and I found myself laughing to her dry sense of humor more often. Thankfully, the gameplay is top tier. I really enjoyed the moment-to-moment gameplay, as it didn't really reinvent the wheel here. Instead of stances, you have different weapons which counter enemy weapons. I just like this system better because it's more of a visual reminder of what stance I'm in, and they're genuinely just cooler if I'm gonna be honest. Also, being able to do the Scorpion get over here never gets old. Like in the original game, you have an arsenal of ranged weapons. I found myself using the throwable weapons more in this game, oddly enough, especially the pistol. In the quick draw minigames, the pistol is so fun. What's not so fun is the new counters. You have parries like in the original game, but you also have these yellow counterattacks, which you have to hold the strong attack button and then release at the correct moment. It's essentially a game of chicken. I often found myself dying to these as I never saw the attack coming, especially in a group setting. Same thing goes with the new rifle enemies. I kept dying from range attacks because they would snipe me off screen from miles away. That being said, this game does feel less formulaic. There's less storming outposts and taking out everyone. I found myself just exploring and side questing more than anything. When you are exploring, you will find out how beautiful this game is. Visually, it's not the most technically advanced game, but the use of color and camera positionings make this game breathtaking. Every shot of this game looks like a painting. It's great. It is so cinematic and in the best ways. The soundtrack is what you would expect if you've played the first game, although there is a lo-fi mode, and this is peak. Everyone needs to turn this on. It plays these lo-fi mixes during gameplay and fades in and out between the lo-fi tracks and the in-game tracks depending on what's happened. Meaning, if you're roaming around the open world, it will play the lo-fi tracks. But as soon as you come across the enemy, it will stealthily fade into combat music. Honestly, Ghost of Yotei is a must-play for any PS5 owner, especially if you were a fan of the first one, although just know it is a mixed bag to say the least. Those are the best games that I played in 2025. It was a really wide range of games. I like to play a different variety of games. You know, you got your Ghost of Yoteis, you got your Claire Obscures, you got your Little Kitty Big Cities. I really like to branch out and experience as many games as possible. I'm sure there's going to be sensible discourse in the comments, especially around Claire Obscure. At least though, you don't have to sit through 100 million ads just to get to some game awards. Don't forget to cut a promo in the comment section and let me know what your favorite games that you played this year were. Put me over on all my socials linked in my bio and in the description of this video. And always, don't forget to super kick that like button and hit a Canadian Destroyer on that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.